Hello everyone, and welcome once again inside Mayor William Peduto's office. I'm Katie O'Malley for City Channel Pittsburgh, and it is my pleasure to be joined by Mayor William Peduto on his first year anniversary in office. Mayor, welcome to the program. How does it feel to finally hit the 1 year mark?
Exhausting. Did we say that after like the 6 month or the 100 day?
Right, at the 100 days we were exhausted.
Yeah. So no, it's been a good run. We have, I would say this, the difference between the first 100 days and where we are right now, you can see it in the staff meetings, where we had so many people come in who didn't work in city government before, and they were waiting for directions. What is it that we need to do this month? What was it that we're trying to get done in the next couple of months? And today we're at the point where at the meetings they're all running in their own directions. They all have the agenda of what they want to do, what they want to accomplish, and they're taking it on their own.
The chaos is maybe just a little bit more organized now.
The chaos is more organized. It's still chaos, and chaos is good in sometimes because it means that there's a lot of moving parts that are happening. Our goal is sort of to be able to pull it all together, and that's why we have a new structure within city government to do that.
Now, I know you've been talking about this a whole lot, but what are some of your, I don't want to say favorite accomplishments, but what are some of the things that you really feel like you hung your hat on or can hang your hat on in the last year?
Well, I think the first is that we have a whole new city government. I mean, every single director other than Chief Jones at Fire is new. Every assistant director is new. All of our boards and authorities and commissions are new. We brought in a whole new group of people who didn't come up through the political chain, but came up through a search that we created that was really the first of its kind in this country for any city, state, or even the federal government. And we hired people based on merit. So that entire structure change now is starting to work its way down into the departments themselves. And the people that we brought in to lead those departments are creating structures to be more responsive to people. We also created a system of chiefs so that we didn't just silo departments like we had in the past, but having people who were able to coordinate the efforts. And then we took and moved departments so that it made more sense. Building inspection had always been under public safety with police and fire, but it really has more of a function of zoning and planning and redevelopment and neighborhood development, and we moved that over to here. We did the same thing with our budget, which had always been under finance, and we took it out and we made it its own entity so that the finance part, where the money is and how we get the money, is separated by how we spend it. And there's accountabilities that are created when you do that. So we have created a city government structure that is more conducive for what Pittsburgh is today and the Pittsburgh we're trying to build tomorrow than what we've had in the past, which was a Pittsburgh of yesterday.
When you stepped foot in this office first, you only had a handful of people at your side, and now you have an entire fleet. Is this staff, are we seeing your vision? You've had a lot of time to think about the people that you wanted to work for you, the way that you wanted things to be structured. Are we realizing your vision now?
Yeah, I think that after a year, I'm going to have, and I have had, the opportunity to be more of a mayor and not so much as a director or a person that was a director's boss. We have people that we have hired, many of whom, and I would actually say with the top position, most of whom, took a pay cut in order to be able to take this job. People who have qualifications that are much higher than the qualifications for those positions. So my job isn't to micromanage that. My job is to set an agenda of where I believe this city can be, and then to hold those directors and those chiefs accountable to get us there. And the nice thing about it, if you're building any type of a team, I feel we have the talent in order to be able to do it.
And with that team came a number of things, including most recently a newly passed budget.
Yeah, so let's go back. I mean, a year ago, we were battling the state in order to stay under financial oversight in the Act 47 because we knew that we needed 5 years to be able to finally have financial stability. We got that in the middle of March, and by May we had a new budget director, a new finance director, a new assistant finance director, and a whole new team. By June, the end of June, we had passed not only a new budget, but a new 5-year plan. By September, we had ripped that budget apart and found where there had been holes, basically revenues that didn't exist, expenses that were never covered, and every year we wouldn't hire enough police officers or enough building inspectors in order to make up those holes. And we said we're going to tear the Band-Aid off and we're going to show what the budget really is, and we're going to hire the people to fill the positions that the people of Pittsburgh need. And we did that. We went through a battle in October and November with the other oversight board. And in September and December, the city council passed the budget. The oversight boards approved the budget. And now the city is on a financial trajectory over the next 5 years to finally have fiscal solvency for the next decade.
What else do you feel like you were involved in or participated in this past year that continued or also put us on that trajectory?
Well, I think that when we came in, we knew that we had to do a lot within public safety. And it wasn't just healing the relations between the police bureau and the neighborhoods and rebuilding the morale within the police bureau itself, but it was really understanding that our entire public safety apparatus needed to be overhauled. So we created a department of public safety, and it's no longer just one person and a secretary, but it actually involves all the different components of making sure our neighborhoods are kept safe in its own department. We hired a person for that position who headed counterterrorism for the FBI for the entire United States, somebody who would have applied for that position for Los Angeles or New York, but we were able to bring him home. We took the Office of Municipal Investigation out of the police bureau, so the police aren't policing the police, and we put it under the law department. And we hired a person to head the law department who was a former federal prosecutor in Miami in the 1980s under the drug cartels. Remember Miami Vice? You know, this is the person who was fearless in going after that, Lourdes Sanchez Ridge. And we hired a new OMI chief, somebody who walked the beat of a police officer for the University of Pittsburgh for over 20 years, but also chaired the Citizens Police Review Board to head OMI, so we had independence in our investigations. Once we had all of that in place, once we had that foundation, we then went out to find a visionary to become our police chief. And for the first time in the city's history, we hired somebody from outside the police bureau to head it. And now Cam McClay is hiring all the assistant chiefs and all the commanders and all the rest of his command staff based upon merit to build a model of a police force in Pittsburgh.
Talked about the budget, talked about public safety. A lot of buzzwords that we've heard throughout the year are resilience, sustainability, innovation, transparency, accountability, you're accessible, and you're proactive. We hear that a lot. We've heard that locally, and we've even heard that nationally. Do you want to talk about some of your experiences outside of the city, some of the work that you've done outside of Pittsburgh to put Pittsburgh on the map again?
So coming in with the job, and you talk to mayors and you realize that this is really true. You're both chief ambassador and chief salesman for your city, which means just like the guy who's selling Pepsi-Cola to Giant Eagle doesn't just send a letter and hope that they get good shelf space. They visit the store manager and they make sure they get good shelf space. My job has been to go to Washington and to go to Harrisburg, and when we apply for grants, some grants we had never applied for before, to put the person behind it, to meet with the people who are making those decisions in order to be able to win them, and we have been winning them. We've received around $40 million in grants this year, $30 million for one alone to create the largest scale affordable housing initiative in the city's history, and doing it in the neighborhood of Larimer that has seen no development in over 50 years. But we also, and my job is also to spread the message of Pittsburgh, to let people know that this isn't the city they think it is, but this is the city that is the underdog city, and the city that has been able to rebound, and the resilient city, and that we're are not just a model that we tried to be about a post-industrial city, but we are a model of a 21st century city. So I've had the opportunity to speak, to be a part of panels, to have the city's story told in newspapers and in television shows, and I've had that opportunity to be able to get that message out about what this next Pittsburgh is going to be looking like. But here's the important part. For so many people, that's all they think. they don't realize that we're already there. And so my job becomes absolutely critical of explaining to people where the city is right now.
Right. You've been to the White House, you've been to Harrisburg, you've been profiled in Governing Magazine, you were on Meet the Press, featured in Politico, and participated in panels that Politico has hosted and Politico Magazine has hosted. Popular Mechanics, Google Zeitgeist, and Undercover Boss. You've been on both ends of the spectrum and some of the most high-profile positions nationally, having nothing to do with politics, and some of the most high-profile places and the most high-profile place in United States politics.
I would say from that list, the one that I found to be the most enjoyable, I guess, was being asked to be a part of Google's Zeitgeist. They choose about 300 people from around the world to gather in the desert to talk about the next big ideas, and they choose one mayor. Last year, it was a mayor from South America, and I can't remember the city, and this year it was Pittsburgh. Google has a major presence in the city. I got to meet with the CEO to make sure that that presence continues to grow. But from all of those, I'm more proud of the work we did in creating Mayor's Night Out, in going to neighborhoods like Allentown, Belts Hoover, over in the north side, in Homewood, our Mayor's Night In, where people were invited to come into the mayor's office and meet with everyone. Our Mayor's Night on Air, where we talked about public safety with the chief, with community leaders, and had that open dialogue that other cities can't have. And our Mayor's Night Online, which got international coverage, is the first of its kind in utilizing technology to give people direct access with the decision makers. So the national part is important. The national part helps reestablish Pittsburgh on a national map, but it's the local part that really makes a difference in people's lives.
Do you have some moments that are the most memorable in the last year? I mean, you've been to so many places, but even just of the events that you just named, of the events that were hosted here in this building, of things that you participated in throughout the community?
The ones that come to mind, unfortunately, aren't the ones that like that. They're the ones that are the more tragic. It's the call on the first homicide last January when we first took office. It was learning that one of our refuse workers had been tragically killed and spending the afternoon at his mom's house with his mom. It was going up when Officer Rocco was killed through the gauntlet of officers who had tears in their eyes. Those are the ones that come to mind first. They're also balanced with the email I received yesterday morning at 5 in the morning about a deadly fire in Homewood where it was believed that as many as 5 people had died, only to find out 2 hours later that our firefighters had saved every person, including a 10-month-old infant. Those are the ones that stick out at the front of the brain. The other parts of it, and the opportunity to be the mayor, is, I guess, sort of balanced with the responsibility that this is a very, very serious job.
How do you manage that balance? How do you go from receiving being woken up by a phone call about something terribly tragic, to then going to be a part of, events, meetings, conferences throughout the day, throughout the week? How do you find a balance? How do you stay?
I think you have, I think that's it. You have to find a balance. You have to find a balance between dealing with homicides and the spikes that we saw over the summer, and then again towards the early autumn, and trying to understand what it is that you can try to do in order to stop it, with the ability to be at groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings. And if you dwell on one too much, then you really lose the balance of what the job requires. I know that there were people who would ask, why would you even go on Undercover Boss? Well, I got to help 4 people, and that really was one of the major reasons. The other is, for 1 hour, the world got to look at Pittsburgh in a different lens than what they think about it as. But the other two was that balance. I work a lot. I averaged last year, I think it came out to 5 days off per month. That includes weekends. So there's a lot that I put in, and I put in long hour days. But I do, one of my goals, my resolutions for next year is to be able to balance that with a little bit less, because it doesn't help anyone, and I always tell my staff if you're burnt out. So everything's a balance. There's a lot that you feel if you put yourself out there and that you really care, that can really bring you down. But there's also so much good that happens in being at the opening day of Little League in Brookline, or being able to work over at a food kitchen in the north side and being able to help people and see the joy that they get from just your presence and being there. Really it recharges the batteries.
You just mentioned a little bit ago about being on an international stage as well. Did you realize when you took office that you were going to be invited not just around the country, around the city, the state, the country, but around the globe? You were invited, you participated in conferences in Germany, Denmark, and Canada this past year, but were invited also to Israel, Portugal, Italy, France, England, China, Turkey, Croatia, Cuba, Ukraine, and Morocco.
Never. No, I never did.
How does that happen?
I don't know. In almost all the ones that you said, the three that I did go, no taxpayers' money. There was all, I was asked to be a keynote on some different things, one with Carnegie Mellon University to Germany, one with the Green Lane Project to Denmark, in which we actually got $250,000 for my going, and then another in Canada, in Toronto. But I think that there were close to 16 to 20 requests to speak as a keynote or as a panelist to all those others, which, no, I never would have imagined.
Did you see that happening to yourself?
No, here's what it is. There's two parts. One is the obvious part, which is the world is now starting to view Pittsburgh, and this country is starting to view Pittsburgh as the comeback city. We have the potential to be the next IT city. And so those that work in city government, urban affairs, new urbanism, it's already front and center, and they want to hear the story from the mayor. I get that part of it. Second part of it is, for so many of the organizations that are making these requests, I've had 20 years of experience through city council of getting to know the people. And for many years, I've been at those conferences, but I was the guy sitting in the last row listening. And now there's sort of a joy that they have too, that one of their own has been able to become a mayor, and they want to be able to invite. These conferences are not glitzy. These are policy wonk, egg-headed guys like me talking about urban issues in a way that we get really excited about how we can actually change and affect and have change happen. And the same issues that we deal with in Pittsburgh are being dealt with in Detroit and Los Angeles, but they're also being dealt with cities around the world. There's this whole big movement that's happening about open government and technology and innovation, and Pittsburgh is on the map.
Right, partnering with Code for America, working with bringing Pittsburgh now to the 21st century of technology, like you often mention. You know, we've been maybe a little bit behind with some of our processes. Maybe we didn't have everything as up to date as we could have. And you've really been committed to that. Why has that been such a sort of paramount focus for you?
Because it's fun. That's part of it. I mean, it's why I wanted to be mayor, and I enjoy it a lot. We have some really amazing people like Deborah Lamb, who's heading it up. And what we realize is that for so many of the different operations in the city, we operate them not really that much different than we did in the 1980s. But if you were to get your car repaired, or if you were to go to see a doctor, or if you wanted to have someone do any type of work for you, if they were doing it the same way as the 1980s, you wouldn't hire them. So what we have to do is basically upgrade all of our systems, not just buying new software. That isn't what we're doing. What we're doing is we're looking at creating seamless systems that then open the information up to anybody and everybody. Anything that we have belongs to the public, and the public should be able to see it. And then partnering with different organizations, both here and around the country and around the world, to create models of how to deliver services. Our goal on delivering services are three things: that it's done effectively, that it's done efficiently, and that it's done equitably, so that if it's there for one person, it's there for all. So we have a lot of work to do. We're not going to be able to do this like turning on a light switch, but we've already changed building inspections. We've already changed so you don't have to stand in line around this building to get a permit to get a shelter, and you can just go online. And what you'll see, and what people will see over the course of the next 3 years, is a city government structure that is based upon them, to make it easier for them. I call it the quotient of happiness. I want to see a quotient of happiness in Pittsburgh where people feel that government isn't making them angry. And it starts with simple things like calling 311 and getting a response to that complaint. But even before then, how many times does the phone ring before someone picks it up? To being able to, how you do business with city government and how easy it is and why you don't have to use a cashier's check, because God knows where you even get a cashier's check, or that you have to drive downtown in order to do something. We want to make it so that it's a city government that makes it easier for people.
That's what we're looking forward to in 2015. Happiness.
Yeah. Happiness. Quotient.
The happiness quotient, right. So what are some other ways maybe that you're going to be focused on making the residents of Pittsburgh and the processes of Pittsburgh city government happier?
We're stripping down everything and then building it back up. We wanted people to know when that plow truck was on their street, and we want them to be able to get that information directly on their computer. We want to have systems to determine what streets are going to be paved, and so people can see over the course of the next few years, and at the same time understand exactly how that decision was being made, so it doesn't seem as if politics had a heavy hand in that decision making. We want all the different parts of parks and recreation to be upgraded for our kids and our seniors, so that anything from the tomato sauce that we're using to the programming that we're creating is being done in a way that lifts it up. And we want the whole system that operates all of these different things to be seamless and be able to work together. Those are extremely lofty goals. They may not seem it, but the fact is that what it will do is provide that service more cost efficiently, more effectively for the people that are being done, and with more of an ability to help everyone.
I think we have a lot to look forward to in 2015.
Pirates winning season? No more of this
No, we've
wild cards.
accomplished the winning season. Now it's the Pirates World Series.
Penguins going to conference championships?
Penguins winning a Stanley Cup.
The Stanley Cup, even loftier goal. And the Steelers? Can we talk about the Steelers yet, or is it too soon?
You're the one that says we're not allowed to talk about the Steelers
We have
right now.
1 week, so we'll have to wait till next week. But definitely back to the playoffs.
Perfect. All great things for us. Thanks so much for your time today,
Thanks,
Mayor.
Katie.
We look forward to seeing and hearing from you more. Who knows where you're going to end up or what will happen
I
next.
think we're going to be in Lawrenceville for our next Mayor's Night Out.
Lawrenceville, next Mayor's Night Out. You heard it here first, folks. That's all we have from the Mayor's office. Thanks for joining me, Mayor Peduto.
Thank you.
I'm Katie O'Malley for City Channel Pittsburgh. Stay tuned to City Channel Pittsburgh for continued coverage of Mayor William Peduto's office. Until next time.